What is up, y'all? Matt Latham here, board certified master arborist and registered consulting arborist. And welcome to Ask an Arborist. This is an offshoot of my little company, Arborist on Demand. We do telemedicine for trees. And essentially, we just wanted an outlet for you to come and ask your great tree questions and find out a little bit about what's going on with them. You know, trees are such very incredibly important parts of our lives. Hey, y'all, listen, you like breathing, right? I know I do. And so it turns out trees are really good for breathing. And if nothing else, we build our houses out of them. So there's so many benefits that trees provide in our lives. Not just that, mental benefits, ADD recovery, cancer recovery, illness recovery, overall well-being. And trees are just such a wonderful part of our lives in so many ways. So we started this just as a way to help you guys out, answer your tree questions, figure out what's going on with them so you can love them and enjoy them instead of having to deal with them. So we're going to look over here at our main Facebook group. This is Ask an Arborist. And essentially, like I said, this is just our outreach ministry, if you will, to you guys to really just answer your questions and figure out what's going on with your trees. Because we love our trees, don't we? I know I do. I'm hoping you probably do too. But like I said, trees are great. And we need more trees and we need them to be healthy and thriving. And it turns out most of the time, the problems that you're experiencing with your trees are very simple things that if we just make a little adjustment here and there, we can course correct. So we're starting off with Gabriel Haller. Gabriel saying he just planted this tree last week. Hey guys, by the way, so just so you know, it's been crazy. We were almost less than 2 months ago, we were at 600 and we're now almost to 3,000. And so we're just growing like crazy, like weeds, if you will. And y'all, it's just been such an honor to be a part of this group. We've actually run into quite a few problems trying to manage the growth and really just keep up with you guys. And so thank you again for all the great questions. I love a good challenge, y'all. So let's get into it. 2,900. And I think with all of our, let's see here. I just got to check something real quick. Yeah. So 2,900 members, 2,882. And then with all of our visitors who are active participants, almost 700. So if my math is mathing right, we're looking at over 3,500 people that have been a part of this group. So y'all, thank you so much again. So let's get right into it. Gabriel is asking about his transplant shock. It looks like a crepe myrtle, maybe. I'm wondering, is that what that is, Gabriel? I don't know. But I just posted that about an hour ago. Seems like transplant shock last week. Soil seems moist. I've been tending to it regularly. Yes, that is transplant shock. I don't know. Where are you, Gabriel? It's a great name, by the way. That's my son's name, my second son. So that is, I think that's a crepe myrtle. Yeah, that is classic water stress. So I'm not sure how often you're watering, Gabriel, but I would bet it's probably not draining outright. So let me show you. We do, by the way, for those of you watching, we do have a YouTube channel where we teach this stuff as well. We do everything from like really complex stuff to really simple, like just keeping your tree healthy, how to plant a tree properly, how to water your tree properly, you know, some of the basic everyday stuff. And then I do a lot of expert witness. In fact, I was on the phone again with a guy. I can't name names or places or people or anything, but there was a tree that fell on the guy. About a month or two prior, they did a tree inventory on the whole city. And that they actually had a duty of care to report that to the city. They didn't. Next thing we know, limb comes crashing down and somebody lost their husband. So it's really sad, but you know, we deal with a lot of really technical stuff like that too. But this is a great one. This is a technique called radial trenching. My best bet, Gabriel, I don't know, but I would be willing to bet money that you probably planted your tree too shallow, or too deep rather. And you probably planted it with too much, like not enough width. So let me show you what I'm talking about here, Gabriel. We've got, I got this new chair. It's got this weird thing sticking out of it here. It runs into everything. Here. Test check, microphone check. All right. So most people, they've got a tree, they've got a planting container. That is not to scale, by the way. And then what they do is they drop it in a hole that's almost the same size or maybe a little bit bigger. And then what happens is all those roots start to go out and they can't get anywhere. Now, roots need to have, our soil needs to have less than 200 PSI, that's pounds per square inch, Otherwise, the roots are physically incapable of penetrating into that new existing soil. So what happens, we call it the teacup effect, is you get essentially an anaerobic condition. And what that means, ana meaning without, aerobic, anaerobic is without oxygen, essentially. So basically what happens, your trees are drowning, your roots are drowning. So you're watering, that's a great thing. What happens is water, if you think back to like 8th grade science, water wants to go from high pressure to low pressure. So you've got this existing soil, which is high pressure, right? You didn't change it. You didn't fluff it up or anything like that. And so what happens is the soil outside is pushing that water into that nice, fluffy, growing aggregate and growing material. They usually put a ton of compost and mulch and things like that inside of those planting containers to get the trees to grow really fast. And so what happens is they wind up, that water just has nowhere to go and it sits in there. So do me a favor, take a screwdriver, jam it down in the planting container right where you've got it, Gabriel. See if it comes back muddy. If you pull it out and it comes back real muddy, then you definitely got that going on. Like I said, we call it the teacup effect. And that radial trenching I posted you that video of, and that'll go a long ways into just making sure the water has the ability to drain and that the roots have a nice clear path that they can grow into, start to get established. But my best bet, you're probably watering too much or too little. It looks like too much to me based on what I'm seeing, but I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong there, Gabriel. So hope that helps, buddy. And now we're moving on. By the way, y'all, just so you know, we're going kind of a little bit different. Lucas and I were talking. He's in my ear, by the way, right now. And we were talking. It's like we are getting way behind. You guys are coming in with such great questions that we're just like falling behind. And so we're doing it a little bit different today. We're working from the top down, and then Thursday we're working from the bottom up. So we kind of meet in the middle, get rid of some of these that are coming in that we're falling behind on. We want to make sure that y'all aren't waiting too long to get the answers to your great tree questions. So give me 1 second, guys. I just spilled a little bit of my bubbly drink. I'll be right back. That's something I do. They didn't hear that, did they? I heard it. No, you heard it. Not everybody heard it. I hope. No, I just walked away. I walked away. And I said things that I'm not proud of. It's water. It's bubbly water. Excellent. Okay. All right, so we're moving on. Austin was asking Panhandle of Florida. So you got some clay soil and a little sandy loam. I posted about a maple in our yard that's been struggling, and it was determined by the fine experts of the group that it was planted too deeply. / the berm built around the tree roots has caused suffocation. Same planter planted these D.D. Blanchard magnolias in January of 23. We've had a recent drought here, but I provided some supplemental watering. All 4 trees flowered beautifully this year and have put on a lot of growth, but have recently shed a lot of leaves. Wondering if the berms around these trees are causing the issue or if it could be something else. Thank you in advance. Hey, glad we could help you out on that last question there, pal. It's so common. So common, especially in a clay soil. You see water just pooling. Like I said, we just looked at that with Gabriel's trees here. We call it the teacup effect. It is like one of the most common big problems that I see in trees across the board. Unfortunately, it's very easily preventable. Just nobody knows to prevent it. So anyways, hey, what's up, Christine? Glad to have you here. Thanks for being here. So Christine's one of our moderators. She's on YouTube watching, hanging out with us. So we're really glad to have you here. She has been a wonderful help to this group and just absolutely a phenomenal resource. She's a PhD, like some genius cancer solver, and she's over here just helping us idiot arborists. Make sure we give all you guys great answers. So Christine, I was telling them too, we're kind of trying to make up for lost time because I'm falling way behind on all these. And I realize that, and I don't want to seem like a flake. So what we're doing is we're working top to bottom this time. So we're doing a little different order, but we'll get to all probably Thursday night. We'll do the go from the bottom up. Hopefully get all of them covered today. So, all right, we're moving on. I think Austin, I think what you got going on is maybe a similar situation. The leaves falling, that could just be a stress response, especially if you've got a drought going on. Now, what you could do, I want you to be proactive with it. It's really important to be proactive because what will happen is most people, they just get it on a schedule. And the unfortunate part about that is when you put it on a schedule, you're not managing it, right? So things could be going very wrong and you would never know. And so it's really important to make sure you're managing it. So whenever, especially when you're getting a tree established, is you want to kind of test it out as you're going. And so I love the screwdriver test. You take a screwdriver, you jam it in the ground, you pull it back out. That's going to tell you, is it muddy or is it not muddy, is what you're looking for. And that's going to tell you the difference between, is it staying too wet? Is it not wet enough? Do you need to go up or down on irrigation or keep it the same? So that's really important. I'll go ahead and post this to, oops. Oh, no worries. All right, so let's check this out because I think humic acid is going to be a really, really, really cool solution for you as well. There, Austin. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and post this for you too, Gabriel, if you're still watching. But yeah, I think humic acid is going to be a really good resource for you in the Florida Panhandle. Y'all, I know y'all have a pretty messed up soil there, and you get all those hurricanes that come through periodically and bring all that salt air and salt water up inland, and so that can have a detrimental effect. Believe it or not, sometimes you'll see that many years in advance. Or after the damage has been done. So, all right, moving on. Anonymous asking, hi, Arborist, was hoping to get some help. Beautiful oak tree in the backyard in Northern California with a diameter of about 25 inches. That's a big tree. We're putting in synthetic turf. Oh, no, saying so. I'm working on a big project like that. Yes, I know, not everyone's a fan, but it's what we're going to do for my child who's allergic to grass. That's fair. I can understand the allergies. Also, you sure? I mean, not all grass, right? Are there other grasses maybe that they're not allergic to? I do not like synthetic turf grass, for those of y'all that know me. It's an okay solution in situations like that, or if you got a golf course. That's about all it's good for in my book. And I want to make sure we keep our tree healthy. How far away should we keep the turf from the tree? That's a great question. I love that question. So what you want to go, that's actually a good point. Pedrito, I'm reading his reply here. There's actually studies about turf grass giving children cancer. Yes. Now there's no EPA regulations on what they have to do to make sure they're safe for humans, that turf grass, that I know of at least. So yeah, I can see that. And a lot of those petroleum products like that can be very harmful. I know because we live in the cancer belt of America, supposedly. Here in Texas City, Texas, south of Houston. There's just so much industry that goes on here. It's no good for humans. And we're suffering as a family as a result. But I get it. Okay, Anonymous, I understand why you're doing that. Here's what you want to do. Go as far as you possibly can away from the trunk. Fill that in with mulch right around the trunk. Obviously, don't put the mulch on the trunk. Friends don't let friends mulch volcano, y'all. I'm gonna post that video because it's fun. Make sure you're keeping it away from the trunk. Very, very important. But go as far as you possibly can. Now, a general good rule of thumb is going to be 5 times the diameter of the trunk. So the other thing is you want to make sure you get the pervious stuff, the permeable stuff. Make sure water and air and all that is able to go through it. But what I would go is measure the trunk. I think you said 25 inches. Yeah, 25 inches. So 25 inches, real quick math, it's very simple. You got a 25-inch tree. So you got to go 5 times that. So that'd be 125 inches. And that's going to be your measurement. Basically, you want to take 10 feet, 10 and a half feet, really, 12.5, 12 inches, 12 feet, 5 inches, if I can do math. And you want to divide that in 2. So about 6 feet away. That's what you're looking for. You want to go at least 6 feet away. What that's going to do, that's going to be what we call the root plate of the tree. Now, in a perfect world, you would go out to the drip line. So you got a tree here. That's a terrible picture of a tree. You want to go all the way to the edge of it. So draw an imaginary line from the edge of the canopy down. That's realistically on a 25-foot tree. That's going to be way bigger than that 6 feet. That's probably going to be like 25, 30 feet on the outside, depending on the species, of course. It's an oak, so if it's a live oak, maybe go 30 feet, 40 feet in each direction. But those trees will get like 120 foot wide. And I know you said Panhandle, or is that the previous guy? Northern California. Okay, so you've probably got a coastal oak, Northern California. Yeah, that could be a coastal live oak. And those live oak, same thing. They'll grow really wide. And so in an ideal world, make it all the way out to where the canopy ends. In a realistic world, you're not going to do that. Go at least 6, 7, 8 feet wide away from the trunk and fill in that space with mulch if you can. That'll help to feed future growth later on. So hope that helps, Anonymous. Yeah, I get it. I get it. My son has allergies. So when we mow, I have to bag it, which is just silly to me, but whatever. That's all I have to say about that. All right. Hi, this is sent from my builder's landscape company. This still does not seem right to me. Any guidance would be appreciated. This is our second unalived tree from the same spot. I'm beyond frustrated. You know, I love suing people like this. Good morning. Just wanted to share the information. No, it's probably planted wrong both times. It could be something wrong with the soil. Lucas was saying it makes him wonder if something was wrong with the soil. Yes. That is very, very possible. And you said it's a builder's landscape company. So I'm assuming new build. Do me a favor, Summer. You got to send me pictures. Oh, you're from Prosper. What's up, neighbor? I grew up in Plano, Texas. We wound up in like McKinney. I had actually a lot of clients in Prosper, including the city of Prosper, Texas. Was one of my clients back in the day. Let's see here. Jeremy Rob Johnson. Okay, I love it. We got actual books. Ball and burlap is my least favorite type of planting container, by the way. I actually like container grown. I know that's like taboo. Actually, bare root is best, of course. But okay, let's take a look at it because I haven't even read this. Good morning. Just wanted to share the information for the owner of the landscape company who is trying to indemnify himself. That was my own add-on. He said he will plant the tree however y'all want it planted, but there's a reason why they plant them the way they do. The burlap stays on the tree's root ball, but is cut back at the top. The wire basket is left on to act as a reinforcer to help the root ball not fall apart. That's bullshit. Did I say sorry? I'm sorry, guys. I shouldn't curse on this. This is a family-friendly channel, but this landscape company, I got words for them. Please see the attached 3 pictures that they probably pulled from ChatGPT or some other unreliable source. Let's get into it. The burlap stays on. Please see the attached. I just want to be transparent here about the page, about the tree, so we're all on the same page. The wire basket and burlap material that was found was not causing the tree to unalive or not grow. Not a fan, honestly. Please let me know if y'all have any questions about it and the final decision and what the final decision is on how you want it planted. The tree is known as a ball and burlap tree. Ball and burlap trees are fine. Commonly asked questions. Where did you get this? CherokeeMFG.com. Let's check it out, y'all. Who dems? Cherokee manufacturing, nursery supplies. Oh, they just supply the ball and burlap material. They don't actually do anything. So they have I guess they have a blog. Maybe they were talking about that. Okay. Should wire baskets be removed when planting trees? It's okay to leave the wire basket around the root ball. Technically, kind of, sort of, not really. Yeah. Landscapers suck. Hey, Christine, that's a great point. Landscapers do suck at planting trees. Sorry, no other way around it. But by the way, guys, did y'all know there's actually ANSI A300 standards for planting trees? There's actually nursery standards for growing and supplying trees. So let's check this out. These are see my book. All right, so this is ANSI Z60.1. Y'all hold your nurseryman accountable. If they bring you a tree where the root ball is below, the root flare where it flares out real big at the base is buried, that's a bad tree. Don't take it. Don't accept it. Hold them accountable, because this is the only thing that's going to change things in my industry. The other thing is there's a right and a wrong way to plant trees, by the way. If you plant them right, they will succeed 96, I think is the statistic, percent of the time. 96% of the time. That means all these trees that y'all are struggling with, most of those should not even be an issue. Most of the problems that you're going to encounter are actually not even to do with planting problems. If it's done right, it's actually done with just environmental conditions. Just something to think about, y'all. Is 96% Environmental Design Incorporated. Their website, by the way, is treemovers.com or treemover.com. Can't remember which, but they essentially what they do is they transplant mature trees. And let's see if I can find it. I think I got the video on here. Hold on. Let's see. EDI. Oh, did it send? It didn't send this. Oh, man. The email sent, but I didn't send the actual link. Okay. I'll have to find that later. But a good friend of mine owns a company called Environmental Design Incorporated, treemover.com. And essentially, they move big trees. That's all they do. They did the 9/11 memorial trees there in New York City. And they've done up to, I think, 84 inches, David was saying. Is the biggest that they've moved. 84-inch diameter tree. I've only removed a handful of those, y'all, over the 23 years that I've been in this industry. They're like 84 inches is a monster tree. And I know you got those eucalyptus, man, the euc guys and the oak guys. The oak guys are all about finesse. The euc men are all about get or dead. Out in California, that's what they dealt with. So I know that's not that big, but an 84-inch diameter tree is monster tree. That's going to be like 30, 40, 50,000 pounds worth of tree alone, not even including the root ball. So anyways, should wire baskets be removed when planting trees? I disagree, actually. ANSI standards say that you got to remove them. In fact, leaving the wire basket burlap around the root ball will increase transplant success and minimize staking. That's not true. I'm sorry. Though you should remove any rope across the top of the root ball, cut back the burlap on the top of the root ball, and then bend back or remove basket wire, basket loops. To ensure proper growth, you must use a correctly sized wire tree basket from the beginning. When I leave the burlap on the planting tree, should I leave the burlap? You don't need to remove the burlap from the root ball. Yeah, I actually agree with that. The roots will penetrate the root ball, the burlap rather. That burlap doesn't do a good job of restricting oxygen and water transport back and forth either. So it's really not a bad thing. But the wire basket, eventually that's going to cause problem. That's funny. Luke, I market for a landscaper. They're not all bad. That's actually true. Yeah, landscapers suck most of the time. Not always. And for those of you who are landscapers that are hanging out, having fun, talking trees with us, be better. Y'all just set the standard. Forget what all the other guys are doing. We're talking about that in one of our groups, in this group, actually, with another guy that's a fellow arborist saying like, hey, all the cool kids are doing this. You know, like, I don't care what the cool kids are doing. Yes. And that's a great point. That Luke is bringing up such a great point too, y'all. So like tree guys suck, landscapers suck. I know a lot of guys that are really top notch. I know way more, like 9-to-1 ratio, 10-to-1, 11, 12-to-1. I don't know. Like so many guys that are so bad at what they do professionally and they just don't care. But there are some very, very, very good ones out there. And I'm actually meeting with a guy tomorrow, Tom Blackburn, here in Houston. There's a street named after his family, but he is a great landscaper, phenomenal guy. I remember the first time I met him, we're walking through talking trees. He's talking about Miramichi Green. I'm talking about as a fertilizer. I'm talking about BioBoost type stuff where we mix our own fertilizer and spray it on the trees. And he's talking about things, and the guy understands the plants, not just knows the book knowledge. He didn't just read it, memorize the textbook language and terminologies and go take a test. He actually understands how and why the plant does what it does. And so that's what you want to look for when you're hiring your arborist, especially landscaping is usually cheaper and easier of a problem to fix if they don't know what they're doing, but especially your trees. You want to make sure the guys really understand the way the tree functions. And by the way, I did do a video on this not too long ago, is basically how to hire the right professional. Like there's so many guys out there that claim to be expert tree guys or whatever. And it turns out most of them are liars. Need a tree expert. Here's how to find Or online arborist certification. That's not what I want. How to choose the right arborist. That's what I want. Hey, there's my son. I need to talk to him. Hey, Lucas, can you text me the link to the video that we're doing right now? I gotta send that to my son. Yeah. Okay, so this is just a quick video I put together. I think it's like 6 minutes, but it basically just goes through some questions to ask your tree guy, and it's really the questions are designed to stump the arborist. Essentially, I know, bad joke, but yes. So, anyways, so we got really bunny trailed there for a minute, but I don't believe this. I'm going to do a little research, and I am going to send you some information. Thank you, sir. And essentially, that's going to be the answer standards on why those things that they said are not true. These are ANSI A300. And I'm going to do that, not because I have time to do that, but because that makes me mad that they're writing blogs and they're trying to justify bad behavior. That makes me mad, Summer. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna send it to you. All done. All right, so let's get back to it. Summer, that makes me mad. I'm sorry you're dealing with that, but we're going to give you some information that's going to blow them out of the water, and they're not going to know what to do with it. So they're just going to have to bow down to your every women will. That's not true either, but hold them accountable. We'll figure out ways to hold them accountable. All right. So TH Tree LLC, THT, TH Tree. I got you. Hey guys, just wanted to check in and say hello to all my tree people. My name is Thomas, and I'm a third-generation climber. What's up, Thomas? Glad to have you here, buddy. Man, so cool. I love to meet a fellow arborist. That is the I used to climb on that rope. I'm drawing a blank on the name of it, but it's a little springy for my taste. I like a snake bite kind of rope. I want it to be basically static. But it looks like you third generation. I'm first generation. I'm not as cool as y'all, where my dad and my granddad was climbing trees, but man, great to have some guys. I bet you could teach me some things, dude. Not even gonna lie. I could tell you got the ascender on. You got the straps for keeping the SRT in line and all that. Like, this is a guy that knows what he's doing. He's got the right helmet too. Also, that looks like a sycamore tree, man. Those are fun to climb, and you probably can't breathe right now. Oh, what's up? Y'all don't need to look at me. Okay, TH Tree LLC. All right, so. That's my new buddy Thomas. He's up there climbing trees. Third generation. Justin's third generation too. And y'all, I'm excited for you guys. This is you're in the best industry to be in 2025. Humble opinion. All right, so we're moving in. Any white oak experts here? This tree was slow to set leaves a few years ago and then started dropping leaves midsummer. It's repeated that cycle every year since. I'm not sure what the cause could be, but is it time to remove? No. What? This was a few weeks ago, but now nearly all the leaves are unalived and are slowly releasing. What you want to do, you're going to have to get an on-site guy here. Okay, guys, okay, you're getting one of the top arborists in the nation giving you some comments here. Your arborist on site will inspect the bottom of the trunk after the undergrowth is removed away from it. They will also ask what kind of lawn products are used. I think that's the right question. I would be willing to bet money, Brad, that you've probably got, what's up, you're a landscaper too. That makes me really curious about what kind of products you're using on the lawn, Brad. I know you guys, I know your industry sells you on all these cool products. I got to hide landscaper sucks from the screen here. Sorry, Brad, it's nothing personal. We meet so many landscapers that we see it, man. And hopefully you're one of the good ones. Yeah, you got some volcano. Yeah, there's a volcano mulch with some flowers here. You got a little volcano mulch going on, mulch volcano. That's bad. Friends don't let friends, mulch volcano, y'all. Very important. But you've also got some, I would bet money. I think Guy's right. I think you got a phytotoxic situation going on in the soil there, buddy. By the way, broadleaf killer, broadleaf tree. White oaks are broadleaf trees. And you're putting atrazine, you're putting all these different all these different products on there that actually can create a really phytotoxic scenario in the soil, and they actually will unalive all of the microbial life in the soil as well. So here's a great product that will actually help to restore. Yeah. Try that one right there, and then the Ocean Harvest. That's a really good point. So I would actually let's do this one first. So we're going to do all three of these products, Brad. And I know you're a plant guy, so I know you're probably willing to try some things out. I'm hoping you'd be willing to play a little tree science with us here, so that those Humates Plus, those will actually absorb a lot of the problems. Humic acid is essentially like composted compost, and it is it's like super concentrated. That's going to feed the beneficials. A lot of them will actually consume the chemicals as they break down and try to get rid of that phytotoxicity in the soil. But then this is going to be more of just like a general fertilizer. So don't use this yet. Use those first two first. The heterotrophic bacteria will actually help to create a healthy growing environment in the soil as well. And then the Ocean Harvest will do basically all the things that your expensive chemical fertilizers will do, but better, and they won't have all of the after effects that you're seeing here. I think Guy's right. I think he's on the right path. And like I said, he's one of the top arborists in the nation. He used to write an article called Detective Dendro in the ISA Texas. ISA, just the general science, our general magazine that we use as an industry. And Detective Dendro was all about like taking a really clear forensic analysis of the situation and discovering what the problem is. And in the process, what I really loved about that article that he used to write is he would actually like teach you about trees too. So when I'm getting my feet wet in this stuff and I'm trying to figure some things out, I actually used to read Detective Dendro every single month because I learned a little snippet that helped me to understand what I was doing instead of just knowing the book smarts. So I think that's really important. Trees function a little bit different than humans do, but there's a lot of this very similar and even the same principles. So anyways, hope that helps, Brad. Yeah, reach out to me personally. I'll leave you my email as well. Shoot me an email, man. I'd love to connect, and we can always jump on a live digital arborist consultation and give you like the real nitty gritty, get down to the brass knuckle science behind it all, and hopefully make you a better landscaper too, better serving your clients. That's what I always try to be. All right, Vanessa's asking, hello, we have 2 Chinese elms. We are both badly damaged in the ice apocalypse event in 2022. I'm assuming you're from Texas then. Minnesota, don't you know? They've surprisingly come back, but I'm now seeing that the centers of the trees are unalived, and they've developed new bases. Is there anything that can be done to save these from toppling over as they grow? Thank you so much for in advance. Yeah, listen, there's 2 things to consider here. There's disease and there's decay. Sometimes the 2 are mutually exclusive. Sometimes they're one and the same. Most of the time, they're mutually exclusive. So here's what I have to say about that. Yes, your tree did have some trauma. And that's what's unfortunate about this too, is it's on the backside of the lean towards the house, if you will. So that's not good. Those are 2 bad things. You do have some decaying wood inside. However, I got some good news for you there, Vanessa. You do have really, really good healthy growth that is compartmentalizing those wounds. Now, wounds. How'd that come out of my mouth? That's weird. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you got babies coming in too, but yeah. So shut up, Lucas. So you got some good healthy compartmentalization growth. So trees go off of a principle called compartmentalization of decay in trees, or PODIT. So here's what's happened is you've got these wounds, these big gaping axe wounds where the frost unalived your tissue, right? So that's not ideal. Christine, that's a great question. Christine's asking, what is that? Why is the bark such wildly different colors? That's a great question. The bark is such wildly different colors because of fungus. So all that black streaking that you're seeing is essentially mycelium. Let's go back to the screen there. all that streaking is mycelium from decay fungus. So that's where the decay comes in. What we don't want that to do is get into the living tissue. We want to keep that isolated into this region right here, where all of that tissue is already unalived. And what's happening is that new tissue is growing. Now, if you think of that as kind of like muscular tissue, is every time the wind blows, the tree is actually adjusting strategy just slightly. Yes, and there's a great follow-up question. And then the lighter brown is healthy bark. Yes. So what she's asking is, we've got this outer bark here, and then the lightest of the colors is that new growth coming in. And you could tell if that's only 3 years old, that tree is growing. So before this happened, it had a lot of extra resources. I can tell that at least. And so within that, though, is basically unalived tissue. Now that tissue is separated. It is compartmentalized away from the trunk. Yes. Yeah. So that's the tree's healing tissue. That's actually a great thing, Christine, is that's basically, so you got the wound. The tree's not able to replace that tissue, but it can certainly grow around it. We call it callus wood tissue or reaction wood, but it's basically the tree sealing that wound eventually, and it may take a decade or 2 or 3. Those two, it's kind of like a zipper. It'll close up, and that'll completely seal off all of this tissue in the middle. And what it'll look like is a little bit at a time. So you'll get 1 year, you'll get here. Next year, you'll get here. Next year, you'll get here. Next year, you'll get here. And that's a gross overgeneralization, right? And after about 150 years or so, give or take, plus or minus 1 or 2, you'll actually have that wound will seal. But in the meantime, the tree is moving and shaking every time the wind blows, right? And so what that's doing, the tree is learning and it's adapting as the movement happens. Now, there's a very real scenario where the wind overpowers the tree and the tree falls over. So yes, yes, exactly, Christine. So it's basically like tree scab, except it's way, way stronger than our scabs, right? So it's more like the callet or the scar tissue. Scar tissue is a lot denser, a lot tougher type of tissue. And so that's basically your tree scar tissue is what we're looking at here. And you're spot on. Christine's a PhD, by the way, and specializing in biology, I think would be probably the right blanket term, right? So yeah, you're spot on. And what I love to do when I'm teaching this stuff is most people know a thing or two about their own bodies. We kind of understand a little bit of human biology for the most part, right? And we're not doctors, most of us, like you, Christine, but most of us have a pretty good general knowledge of trees or of our own bodies because we've been sick. We've been taught how to eat right, and how to eat wrong, most of us. And so we all know these things to a small degree. So whenever I'm talking about trees, I think God was using copy and paste at creation. And so I see a lot of similarities between trees and humans here. So anyways, I hope that helps. Vanessa, drawing a blank on your name. Uh-oh, what's Guy talking about? What you talking about, Guy? Are you on here hanging out with us live? Yeah. Okay, let's see what he's got to say. First step is find the first rot growing up the trunk and measure how far below grade that is. First root, not rot, root. Second step is to check the warranty. Third step is to check the planter and ask them to make good on the warranty. Notify them how substandard their plant material and their performance were. Let them know you will yelp loudly. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. Is you probably got a poorly planted tree there, Austin. So, all right, way to back me up, Guy. I know this happy accident, but I'll take it. All right, we're moving on. Shane's asking, this tree is in my own backyard is a textbook example of being lion's-tailed. It is not unusual, but it is wrong. A huge percentage of HOA homes in Texas have a tree planted right in the middle of the yard that ends up looking like this. But it doesn't have to if you hire professionals and not landscapers, not the personal. I think it was Brad we were talking to earlier. That doesn't have to be the case. Here's some statistics. That's funny. Shane's a fellow arborist. We're working on getting him to the good side, to the not dark side. Helms, what is it? Helms Trail Tree Trimming and Property Management, Crandall ISD. I know the area. I grew up in Plano. That's right down the street from me. Texas didn't just grow up. We hoed up. HOA. 21,680 HOAs in Texas now house 6.1 million neighbors, about 1 in 3 owner-occupied homes. That's pathetic. I don't like that. For those of you that know me, I'm not a fan of HOAs. We live in Texas for a reason. We like our freedom. The average HOA equals about 99 homes, about 283 residents, which checks out on the 2.35 kids, the white picket fence, and all that good jazz that the HOAs typically have. New home sizes are shrinking for affordability. 2,146 square feet in 2024. Permits and starts since 2000 tell the story. Boom, bust, big rebound. For the arborists and tree folks here, how would you approach trimming these HOA centerpiece trees differently from this point in their life? I would go off of a principle called structural pruning, and that's based off of NCA 300 and a bunch of other research. Let me show you a great book to get, Shane. You're going to spend about $200 on this book, dude, or you could probably find it on Amazon, or not Amazon, but eBay for like 120 used something. This is like the best book you'll ever own when it comes to pruning. This has everything you could possibly want to know. So, Shane, if you want to grow as an arborist, and I really hope you do, because I see some good signs coming out of you. I also see some very concerning signs. And we talked, man. I sent you a video last week, and we've talked about these things, but do it right. Forget what the cool kids are doing. I don't care about what they're doing. You need to educate your HOA president. You need to talk to your landscapers that you work with, and you need to make sure they're willing to be wrong, because most of them are about a lot of the things that they do, and they have done, and they're going to do in the future. But if you can come in and tell them, say, hey, here's a better way of doing things, promise you, man, you're going to make so many more friends than you make enemies, because people will love you in the fact that you're not willing to compromise. People are attracted to that. So do the right thing. You can actually reduce what you want to do, Shane, is you want to restore the interior canopy. Those trees have been lion sealed. So what you want to do is the first year, you want to leave as many epicormic sprouts as you can while taking some weight off of the very ends of the branches. Just a little bit, maybe 10, 15% of the weight, not the leaf surface area, 10 to 15% of the actual weight on the ends there. That'll actually stimulate, in theory, the tree to produce more interior growth. Year 2, you want to pick 1/5 of those interior epicormic sprouts, 1/5 to 2/5. So about 1 per 5 or 2 per 5. You want to leave those for future growth. Prune out some of the other ones. Obviously, pick the ones that look like they have the biggest and the boldest and the brightest future. Don't pick the crappy ones that are going to break right off in the next windstorm. The other thing is you want to leave those and try to encourage the client to fertilize. I love the organic route. As much as you can go organic, you're going to do so much better. So keep it organic. If you can convince them to lay a little bit of compost there down on the grass around the tree, I think that would be even better. Weight reduction. Yeah, Derek, you're spot on, buddy. Water sprouts will show up and you can select the ones. Oh my goodness, it's like you're in my head, or maybe I'm just reading off yours and cheating, but I wasn't. Also, it takes many years to rehab, but the best place to start is to stop doing it. Yeah, spot on, dude. I love that, man. That is solid advice. Reach out to me, man. We're actually, guys, for those of you that don't know, we're working on putting together a kind of a vetted people that we trust, that I trust, that I would consider hiring to take care of my trees. Because here's the thing. Most of the time we can figure out exactly what's going on, but sometimes and be able to tell you and lead you and guide you. However, sometimes you just need a Johnny on the spot guy, somebody that can be there to do the physical pruning, especially on your larger trees. Don't get out there on ladders with chainsaws. That's silly and not smart. Just don't do it, y'all. Just don't do it. Don't make your wives widows, men, and vice versa. All right, Tommy's asking. What a name, too. Tommy Gun. Must be from Texas. Park University. I don't know where that is. New guy here. I'm a computer science major. So Tommy Gun with a computer science major. This sounds like a dangerous combination. That's like giving robots guns. AI guns. I'm a computer. Okay, so I know when to ask for help. I love it. Hoping I find some here. I bought a bunch of white oaks and scarlet letter oaks from the Home Depot. That's all right, 10 feet tall and cheap. I get it. And by the way, just because they're from a bad place doesn't mean that you can't course correct and give them the resources they need and make awesome trees out of them. I have some concerns about 2 of them because I think they are struggling with something. I've read about oak wilt until I can't stand it anymore. And I cannot really see the same discoloration pattern in the leaves. But yeah, you don't have that, dude. Yeah, you don't know. Not even close. Um, that being said, I also see that one has a significant size suspect area on the trunk, and it may be something else. Maybe both tree 1 and 2 are green and doing fine until mid-August. Then they started struggling. Somebody told me to wait until spring to plant. No, for sure, but it isn't just drought affecting them. I planted almost 90 trees this year and a good portion of oaks. I'd hate to lose them all. This, if this is something like wilt, that will spread. Okay, no, you're not. Okay, when was that planted? No issues planted the same month. Yeah, I'm not sure why exactly. This one seems to be the healthier of the two. That one seems to be less healthy. Looks like you got a really sandy soil, which is actually good. Believe it or not, I would prefer sand than clay, although clay is usually more nutrient rich. We were just talking about that. Acorns on, those aren't red oaks though, buddy. Those are white oaks. Red oaks, acorns on planting year, likely due to grafting, possibly. Oaks, no acorn the first year. Yep, white oaks. Man, what a gorgeous area you got there, buddy. That's a beautiful area. Let's see what else. Red oak acorns on the planting year. Yeah, I don't know where you're at, but that's a beautiful area. 10-foot white oak, no issues, planted same month. Then you've got the good drainage spot. 10-foot white oak, no issue, planted same month. 10-foot white oaks with issues. Oh, yeah, I see that. Okay, so you got a lot of grassy competition there. But most of the time, people plant trees wrong. And this is one of those we might have to go through it with a fine-tooth comb and really do a digital arborist consultation. Yeah. Okay, so she's got it spot on. No root flares on any of them. These trees were planted too deep. By the way, don't take them out yet. They're not unalive yet. I would be willing to bet money that they're probably just under drought stress or too much flooding stress, meaning they're not able to drain. Not so much that they're getting too much water, so much as they're just not able to drain. So here's what that looks like. Typically is, and I see it most of the time with newly planted trees, y'all. Most of the time, I see people do it wrong. So whenever you got a tree, you've got a basket. I don't care how wide, but what typically happens is they plant the hole about the same width or a little bit more than. And so what happens, we call it the teacup effect, is water just can't escape. Because if you think back to like 8th grade science, is we talked about diffusion and osmosis. Diffusion and osmosis says water wants to go from high pressure to low pressure. So that's why sponges work. There's a low pressure air-filled sponge, and you got a high pressure bowl of water. So the water wants to go and fill that sponge in those airspace. Same thing happens with your trees. Is whenever you're watering, if you're watering, I hope you're watering. You don't need to water that much, but if you're watering, what's probably happening is water is staying trapped in that little void between, and it's not able. So what happens, you get these super saturated conditions. It forms an anaerobic condition, anaerobic meaning without air. And now you've got a big problem where your roots need air at all times, just like you and I do. But we have a circulatory system that functions and moves blood every minute or less. I don't know, Christine, correct me if I'm wrong here. So you've probably got a really toxic situation going on in the roots. First of all. Second of all, it looks like you got sandy soil, so maybe that's not as bad, but you're still going to run into all kinds of different stressors. The other thing that Christine pointed out, and she's absolutely right, is there's no root flares on any of them. So whenever they were planted too deep. That's going to amplify that poor toxic condition there. Tree 2 leaves have been struggling and turning brown, but new leaves continue to sprout even. No, good. Keep them going. That is not oak wilt, period. You do not have oak wilt, Tommy, at all. That is water problems. It looks like too much water, but it could be too little even. So I don't know. Tell me a little bit more about your water. That looks like, okay, that tells me water. That tells me too much water. Yeah, it looks like a lake back there. Okay, so yeah, you're getting good growth, man. Keep that up. Just keep getting those in a good place. But what I would recommend is doing, and is exactly what Christine's recommending, is radial trenching. I think that's going to be your best bet here. And then what you want to do is actually try to expose the root flares. And again, man, this is like one of those, it might be a really good idea to get on the phone with me and let's see if we can figure out a good time to ask for help. Yeah. show you what you can do. Getting the dirt off the trunks until you see the first roots growing off the trunk. Yep. Deciding which tree should be replanted. You can't get that advice on the internet. Kinda, we can. It just take a little longer. Let's see, what else am I looking for? What is it? Root flare. No, we're still on Tommy's. Am I going slow? Are you saying I'm going slow? Lucas says I gotta move on, Tommy. Let me give you this link here, and no, I appreciate you telling me to move on. Yeah, well, we're trying to get through these, aren't we? We're not trying to hang about and be here all night. I got a family to take care of, you guys. Shh, we don't talk about these things. Yeah, no, Christine's spot on. I think you got a problem with the planting. These trees were all sorts planted wrong, and we're going to have to talk through this together on an individual one-on-one basis. All right, Kai is asking, where you at, Chai? Nowhere. Please advise me. I would like this black locust to be a tree. Backstory: decades ago, my mother gave me a young tree she bought at a nursery. It was a black locust, but it had pink blossoms instead of white. And it had no fragrance. This tree grew up and lived in my front yard for many years. Then it unalived, and I have no idea why. Later, shoots came up from the ground in its place, and one grew into another tree. The blossoms were white with a lovely fragrance. It was quite nice. Another one of these trees popped up about 20 feet away, but right next to my house. I was thinking maybe it was grew from a seed. The tree in the front yard unalived a while ago, and again, I don't know why. A tree that grew up next to my house and many wonderful smelling blossoms. Unfortunately, it was right up against the house, so sadly I had to remove it. Now this cluster of shoots has sprung up in my front yard, growing very fast. I would love for it to grow up into this tree in memory of my mother. I love that. That's too sweet. How do I make this cluster into something that will grow into a tree? Very good question. So what you're going to do is pruning. You're going to prune it to be a tree. Black locust is black locust is black locust. It has genetics that tell it to be a tree. Now what you're seeing is just the beginning of the life of that tree. So it needs to put on leaves, and that's very normal for it to be kind of a bushy form like that. But eventually, like I said, you want to just train it to be a tree. So what that means is we call it structural training for small trees. There's a really good website on treesaregood.com. That's right. Really good website. I'm just going to go ahead and give you the direct link here because I got a few minutes to play around. Actually, we're on behind, but I'm going to do it anyways. All right. So tree care basics. So you just basically go into the education center. No. Excuse me. The tree resources, and then you're going to do choosing right tree benefits of trees, tree owners manual. I don't know. Pruning your trees. Here we go. Pruning young trees. This is what you want right here. This will be a portion of my. I love that the trees were just like, and we're back, and we're back, and we're back again. Yeah, right. They're like, y'all tried to unalive us, but we're coming back for more. Okay, so this is a really great, just got general pruning guide. And like I said, if you want, I'm happy to get on a digital arborist consultation with you as well. But this should be a really great resource for you. Basically, you're just going to train it to be a healthy tree. That's all. The Bible says, train a child up in the way he should go. And when he's old, he'll never turn from it. Not when he's young, by the way. I was a kid too. I rebelled. Hardcore. But yeah, check out that. And like I said, if you want, I would love to get on a digital arborist consultation. Go through some really important things that you can implement to just give it a better shot and being a really awesome tree. So there you go. Hope that helps, Kai? Which is it? All right. Rachel's asking, hello, I have roughly 1-year-old weeping willow tree. I noticed this on it. Ooh, that's mechanical damage. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm very concerned about the health of the tree. So clearly something's gotten to it. Any suggestions on what to do? I put out a plastic bucket and covered it for now in case it's happening at night and I can't keep an eye on it. Will the tree be able to survive this? Yes, but you gotta unbury those root flares. Turf maintenance equipment, that was what I was wondering too. Where are the roots? A lot deeper than they should be. Guy, I like your style, dude. For the roots was planted for us. How deep should this be? I actually saw rodents on there. Maybe squirrel, maybe beaver. Depends where you're at too, really. Rachel, Piccolo, no idea. 1-year-old weeping willow tree. I noticed this on tonight. Oh, my eyes. I got what I call allergy eye. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think radial trenching would be a good idea on this one. Great point, Christine. Yeah, you got to unbury those root flares too. Where is it? There we go. There you go. And then you got to get rid of. You got to unbury those root flares. That's going to be really important. I got to do like an actual video on root flares specifically because it's so important. You know? Got to keep those root flares exposed. Oh, what is that? Get it. Try that one. All right, yeah, but basically leave it alone and let it take care of itself. All right, we got a live question coming in too. So Alex is asking, does my Afghan pine need to have only one central leader? That would be ideal. Yeah. Single stem Christmas tree style. Christine's absolutely right. Yeah, Alex, I think you would be best off leaving just one stem at the top. And when it gets, 60, 70, 80 feet tall, you can differentiate. You can have two. That's fine. But the in a perfect world, if there were such a thing as a perfect tree, Alex, is you've got a basically one stem that goes straight up and everything branches subordinately off of that. So a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bigger, 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 a little bigger. So you want kind of that pyramid type shape. That's a really good structure. A lot of times what the tree will do is if you've got some hormone deficiencies or problems, they'll branch off and they'll become two. We call it a codominant lead, and that's not ideal. So yeah, I think your best bet, Alex, is to try to train it to be just a single stem. So yeah, there's ways to prune that, and I'll go ahead and post this one again too, as just kind of general pruning care, starting the tree out. I'm assuming your Afghan pine is pretty small. All right, so Rachel, yeah, I think you're okay. You definitely got to get those root flares unburied, and then what I would do is just recommend maybe doing a couple things just to give the tree extra resources. Is number one is give it this extra ocean harvest. That's going to be just a general good root stimulant and general fertilizer, but it's not a fertilizer in the classic sense. It's a fertilizer in the organic biological sense. So that's a really great product. And then these Humates Plus as well are going to be really beneficial for helping get the roots established there and start feeding the beneficial microbes. So yeah, you've got, you're fine. I think it's fine. It's a young tree. I don't know what kind of tree. Weeping willow. Young weeping willows are very, very, very resilient. And they've got really, really what we call vigor. They grow really rapidly. And yeah, I'm thinking Adams right here. Next time, have an arborist plant that you see this planting error all the time. I agree. Yeah, bad planting, easy to correct. It's going to take some elbow grease, a little grunt effort. And let me know. Reach out to us at arboristonDemand.com too, Rachel, if we can help. I'd love to. All right, Pamela's asking, hard to see, but I'm concerned about an area on my live oak. It's way up, difficult to see from the ground. These pics were taken with a drone. That's cool. I've had several arborists out, but none can answer my question without roping up and climbing into the tree. $500 minimum. Then come back and do whatever work was needed. Yeah, that's how arborists work. They would give me an estimate after they locked eyes close up on the limb and question. The tree is 350 to 400 years old using Clemson estimate. I love it. And I know live oaks compartmentalize injuries. I think there's an old healing. Where are you at, Daniel? You look like you're in Central Texas, maybe. Who knows? To me, the area looks like a knot hole that may or may not be rotted. The limb is over the bedroom and living room. If it comes down, someone might get hurt, and the root would be a goner. Yeah. I don't know specifically. A neighbor had a live oak even older than this one. It collapsed totally without warning on a beautiful spring day. My husband was about 20 feet away when it did this. Once half the tree broke free, it was easy to see the entire core rotted and was hollow. By the way, y'all, hollow trees do not equal what is it? Unalivedly? Is that our word for deadly? Just because it's hollow doesn't mean it's not safe. Guy Mayer would probably agree with me on that. He deals with old historic legacy trees on a daily basis. That's all he does is fly around the world and look at some of the world's oldest trees out there. And what we're finding is that every single old growth tree that I've ever laid eyes on and I've ever dealt with has some to extreme amounts of decay inside. That is very normal. In fact, trees are living only on the outer 1 to 2 layers, or up to 12 layers if you're a pine or a cedar, something like that. So I understand your concern with the neighbor's tree doing that. And I don't think we would need to spend the big bucks to figure out, exactly what that is. It looks like some kind of a boring insect, or if you had a defoliation period, it could be sun scald. I'm really going to need to maybe ask you some questions and get on a digital arborist consultation. So this might be one that's worth the $90 to come online and have me look at it. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but yeah, I agree. I think we're going to have to do a little forensics to find out a little bit of the history from y'all's perspective and find out some of the general care practices that you're doing. But generally speaking, just because there's some decay doesn't mean that it's a goner. It just means that there's some decay and we've got to work with that. Obviously, we don't want the tree to come crashing down. So you do have a little bit of unalived back or dieback here in the tips. That tells me there's some health issues going on. The small leaves tell me there's possibly some herbicidal or anaerobic stressors, some abiotic stressors, non-living. And also that also looks like a coastal live oak, not a Quercus virginiana, a southern live oak. That looks like a coast live oak, which has different needs than the southern live oaks do. So we'd really have to do a little forensics on this one and find out kind of what you guys know, what the history is, and maybe give you some resources to just overall upgrade the health and vitality of the tree. And then maybe do some triage too. There's some structural things you could do to make sure it doesn't come crashing down on your house. So anyways, hope that helps, Pamela. We're moving on. Shane's asking, community association would like to remind all residents they're responsible for maintaining street trees located in the public right of way. Here's my question to the arborist in here. This is Shane Ernman again. What's up, buddy? How do you trim a tree to keep the HOA happy without making every arborist in the room have a heart attack? HOA wants clearance, arborist wants structure and long-term health. Can both exist on a 15-foot clearance rule, or is that impossible? Yes, so very possible. What you have to do is reduce the limbs back, and you have to train it for functionality. I mean, there's no getting around that. The law is the law, whether you like it or not. So we have to, now that doesn't mean the law is right. That just means the law is the law. So they plant these trees that have a 120-foot genetic spread potential, and then they wonder why they have to keep sending out letters telling people to trim their trees. It's very, very bad planning. I agree with you there, Shane. Very bad planning, usually done by these cute little master gardeners who just love trees so much and they want to put in so many trees. But essentially what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to reduce the canopy height on those trees and it's going to take a lot, by the way. It's not just going to happen overnight. It's not just going to be one pruning session and problem solved. You're going to have to maintain these trees every single year. So you got the street here. You got the tree here. You got a parkway here. Oh, that's a bad. That needs to be way wider. With my green grass. So there's your parkway. Probably got a sidewalk here. Goes up to the house here. Something like that. Yeah, get the point. So that's a house. I'm going to label it. House. That was difficult. I'm not used to writing sideways. So we got a house here. Sidewalk going up to the house. Straight tree or a parkway tree in the middle here. Very bad planning. Y'all don't put trees in your parkway if you can avoid it. Sometimes HOA bylaws are really foolish and you have to anyways. So what you want is not live oak, first of all. Second of all, live oaks are going to be like the most outward spreading tree that you can possibly imagine planting there, other than maybe a vitex. Vitex is going to be a short, squatty shrub like that. So what you want to do is essentially you're going to reduce all of these. So here's your side, here's your parkway, here's your tree right in the middle of it. Here's your street. So we've got to clear this street area right here. So what we got to do is we got to reduce these branches all back. And what that looks like is heavy pruning and yearly pruning. We've got to bring it back here. And then what's going to happen? This will become the new leaf. It'll put off other branches. You got to reduce those back. And that'll put off other branches. And those will reduce. And then you got to reduce those back. It's a losing battle, but bonsai people do it all the time. Very possible. So if you're saying it's impossible, if the other arborists are saying it's impossible, I've done it. I don't know what to tell you, man. It's not impossible. I've had trees that I've cared for 10, 12 years. We did this until it was at the clearance place. Then we can start removing those lower branches. And then we've got a good established canopy in the upper portions of the tree. And we're at that 14-foot clearance or 15-foot clearance. And we're good to go. So very possible, but it's going to take a lot of proactivity. It's going to take a lot of maintenance. And that's a great question too. Don't plant live oaks. That's silly. That's like the worst tree I can imagine planting. Christine's asking, what tree would you recommend planting in those areas? Something that's going to grow really tall and have a relatively compact footprint. Red oaks are going to be a significantly better tree for that area. Do not plant Chinese pistachios or crepe myrtles, something that will be very small, and most of the canopy is going to be within that right-of-way clearance of 15 feet that we need to maintain for the streets and the 7 feet for the sidewalks, typically 7 or 8. Just depends on the city. So yeah, so you're right to question that, Shane, but I promise you, dude, that's great for business, man. If you can convince them to maintain that every single year, that means you got to come back and cycle through that every single year. They're going to have to keep paying you over and over and over again. And you and I, if you're a business guy, if you understand lifetime value of the client, that's great business. Also, it's not ideal for your clients. So if you can get them in a better situation, please do. Because if you're a certified arborist, you signed an ethics agreement just like I did that makes you a fiduciary. So make sure you're doing right by your clients, Shane. Also, let's talk, dude. Give me a shout, man. I would love to connect with you, man. Let's talk, because it sounds like you're dealing with some situations, and I promise you I got some great solutions for you, but it's going to have a conversation outside of this chat. So we're moving on. Thanks for the question, Shane. What were you saying? How many more do we have to go before we got to that place where 2 more and we're at Lola's Tiny Farm? Sweet. We're cruising. Sweet. Too far. I know. I'm working on it. No. We were planning on going an hour and a half. We're good. We're cruising. All right. So a little behind. That's we're fine. We're doing great, y'all. I know I'm messing with you. All right. So Sergio, what's up, buddy, from Canada? What's up, Alberta? We have a few trees we plan that's planted probably last 2 years, but I noticed that the tips of one spring snow crabapple are bare, and the other one's leaves are looking like something is eating the edges, only perhaps dries out a bit. The only thing I've done was rocked the birch from around the trunk because someone mentioned it might be drawing the tree roots. Please help. Dude, we got to talk, man. Yeah, you got to add some pictures, first of all. Says you're going to do that. That was 11:38 yesterday. You're in Alberta, though, so that might be an hour ahead. Yeah, you got poorly planted trees. Thank you for the picture, Sergio. This is exactly what we need. Okay, yeah, you planted it wrong, dude. Not to worry, though. We can fix this. We gotta do some things to change some things up. Don't care about those. Oops, sorry. Push the tree inward. Crab apples? Yeah, crab apples, that's pretty. So Lucas asked a pretty good question. He's asking about the bark peeling. So yeah, that's actually a common kind of trademark, if you will, on certain species like crepe myrtle. If you notice the bark flakes off. Sycamore, if you notice the bark flakes off. American elm, if you notice the bark cracks off. It forms these big cracks in it. Prunus in general, apples, cherries, and crab apples will actually, they'll all do that. They'll get those big it's almost like a stretch mark on the tree, and essentially that's what it is, if we're being honest. So yeah, thanks for the pictures, man. What you've got to do, you've got to get a better planting condition. So you said planted 2 years ago. I'm seeing some real big planting mistakes, and you've got to do these things to correct them, Sergio. That's going to be really important. If you do these things to correct them, you're going to be off to a great start. You may still see some signs of stress, But if you add on top of that some of these Humates Plus and some of the Ocean Harvest, by the way, and I know you're in Canada, we do ship to Canada, but if you can't get help from Arborist on Demand, please get help somewhere. Is find the ingredients on here. You can just go. I've got the ingredients listed on my website. Yeah. Okay, so that's a great point. Christine's saying the lace bark elm spooked me last year. Haha. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So lace bark elms the same way. They flake off. The bark just flakes off. It looks like they're just shedding and they're just unaliving. And oh my goodness, the sky is falling and soars the tree. But it's not. There's just certain trees that just do that. It's very common. All right, so Lolo's Tiny Farm. Hope that helps, Sergio, and best of luck to you. I hope you're enjoying this not 110-degree weather like we are. But all right, Lolo's Tiny Farm. Is this tree lost cause? It is a maple variety and was planted approximately 8 years ago. Then last 80% sure they were unaliving. Yeah. I get that. Last year, the trunk was damaged by the mower on the lower part, and shortly thereafter, the bark going up the tree began falling off, exposing what you can see in the photo. My spouse painted the lower portion, thinking it would protect the tree after it was damaged. I unfortunately do not have a photo of the leaves, but can update this afternoon in the notes. Let's see if she updated. Yes, too much bark damage. I don't know what that means. Is there a team term for this? I'd like to understand what occurred in hopes of avoiding it for the next tree we decide to plant. So, here's what I'll say, Lolo's Tiny Farm. Okay, so this tree was planted all sorts of wrong. This actually has very little to do with that mower damage. Please watch this because this is important. So you mentioned not wanting the same problems to happen. Let me show you exactly what you want to do, and I'll leave you some video links too. But I'm going to draw out exactly how you want to plant your tree the next time you plant it. These are the two most important things that if you do them, you're going to have a 96% planting success rate. So you've got your root flares here. Now, on your tree, it looks like a bean pole sticking out of the ground. Here's the soil. Here's the root ball. And what's happening is all of that tissue, all that trunk tissue is having all sorts of fungal problems. They are just saturated constantly, I bet. And so what happens is that's going to be a perfect breeding ground for fungal pathogens. Now, roots are pretty good at blocking the fungal pathogens. They're used to being a little more wet than the trunk tissue is. But whenever that root flare is buried, you're going to have all sorts of problems. The other thing too, roots will literally come up for air and they'll start strangulating the tree. They'll start wrapping around. It's like wearing a really bad pair of shoes or like a tourniquet. You and I don't wear tourniquets. There's a reason for that. Some other cultures in our history have, but that's not, they had foot binding and some of them would the Egyptians would wrap their heads and squeeze and get those crazy alien. By the way, it's proof of the Nephilim, probably. Is that aliens or whatever the guy from Ancient Aliens, that guy. We all know that guy. All right. So that's your first problem is you've got a buried root flare. So this is very bad. Don't plant a tree like that. The other thing, and I would be willing to bet money, I don't know, but I suspect Lolo's Tiny Farm, I like your name, by the way, is most people, when they plant a tree, they've got a planting container that may or may not be to scale. That's okay. And so what happens is they come in and the roots are starting to wrap around. Actually, I'm going to give you three things. So we talked about the root flares being exposed. Very important, Lolo. The other thing to keep in mind is when these roots get to the edge, if it's a container grown tree, you've got to take a knife and you've got to saw all the way through those, start pulling those roots out to grow the right direction. That's also going to be very important. That's step 2. That's like number 2 most important thing. The third thing, and this is maybe a little more important than number 2, but not too much, is the planting width. And actually, this I am going to say that's more important than even separating the roots to grow outward. Is most people when they plant their root ball, they've got a root ball like this. They plant a hole like that, just barely wide enough to squeeze that root ball in. And what happens is water will pool in that area in between, and it'll desiccate the roots. It'll literally suffocate them. You and I can't be in water constantly, otherwise we'll drown. Same with your tree. So as the water stays in there, it's just unaliving those roots, and you've got a really toxic anaerobic condition. So what you have to do is forget all that. Don't go just barely wider. You want to go 2 to 3 times minimum. So if you've got a 12-inch root ball, you want to go 12 inches on either side. Very, very, very important. And then when you backfill that, don't add amendments. Break all that existing soil up. You actually don't want to go very deep. You want to leave all of this undisturbed. Very important. That way, the roots, as they're starting to get used to their new home, they've got this nice, easy growing path. That'll get them started. And then you want to kind of just break up the edges a little bit. Just take that shovel and just kind of chop it up. That way, when they get there, they're getting into and they're starting to spread into its new growing environment. So anyways, hope that helps, Lolo. I know that's a lot. I don't think that started with the trunk damage, although that didn't help. Your tree already had these fungal pathogens going on because of these poor planting practices. And I think that was the nail in the coffin. That was the straw that unalived the camel's back or whatever, So you got a lot going on there, but hope that helps. I think you're right. I think it's probably a lost cause. You don't need to paint things, by the way. Let the tree get some air and breathe. Northern California, y'all don't like using petroleum products anyway. So latex paint's better if you do, but nah, just leave it alone. Yeah, it's too much bark damage. I think it's probably a lost cause. The tree probably isn't going to make it. That doesn't mean that you've got just a horrible situation that can't be made better next time. So hope that helps. All right. It looks like summer. Didn't we answer a summer question earlier? No. This seems like the same one. Let's see. Yeah. Same summer. Summer. What's up, Summer? Okay. That must have been the follow-up to this question down here that we're seeing. All right. So Summer, we're in a new built home in Texas. Oh, preach, sister. Oh, man, I'm dealing with the same. Have 2 trees unalived in the last 18 months. They were replaced by the builder. When we were replacing this last one, we noticed it was planted in its wire mesh basket. Builder says this is normal and did not contribute to the unalivement of the tree. We do have clay-like soil, but we have watched the watering to make sure it's not overwatering. Fantastic. I love that. Also, if they planted it wrong, no signs of sludge or mold. Great. I love that. But yes, I am going to, you just reminded, I got to write that down. Summer. Where's my pen? Back here. From my transmission shop. Summer. McGrath. ANSI A300 wire basket. Yeah, they actually recommend, I know for a fact they recommend removing that stuff. So I'll send you the exact numbers. That way you can quote it to them and say, you wrong, dog. Hold them accountable. These landscapers need to be held accountable. All right. Hope that helps, Summer. Hello. I had a friend over to my house who said the hemlock has woolly algae. I have attached pictures. I've never used a systemic herbicide, and I'm hoping to get some feedback on what's best to use and how to apply. We love this tree and want to save it. Thanks for the help. I appreciate it. Woolly algae. I don't see it on there. I do see some lichen growth. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see that. The cottony mass is at the base of the needles. Maybe. Yeah, that actually may be woolly algae. Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. Off color, gray tinted needles. I think you got woolly algae. I think imidacloprid, if I remember correctly, applied systemic insecticides, biological control. Yeah, that's right. You can do predatory insects such as ladybugs. They'll actually eat those guys, and parasitoid wasps. So those are going to be great solutions. It may be too late, honestly. I'm not going to lie. You've got a lot of damage on those, it looks like. Imoline. It's a fun way to. I've never met an imoline. I've met a lot of imolines. I had a friend of mine in the 3rd grade. Her name was Emily. Yeah, you got to remove the pyrethrin. Okay, pyrethrin is going to be imidacloprid. Yeah, that's right. Imidacloprid and dinoteflurane. So, yeah, that's what. Yeah, Imidacloprid, yes. Yeah, that's one of those you got to get an arborist out there who can do trunk injections or do a trunk spray with like Pentra bark. Make sure they're using Pentra bark. Yeah, that's a good point. Lucas is saying, "You what the freak?" I didn't. Yeah, you got to unbury the root flares. That's important. This is what you want. So this is a non-ionic surfactant, bark penetrating kind of thing. So basically, it opens up the stomates in the cell walls and allows the medicine inside. You want that because that's going to make sure the tree can transport it and unalive all the little critters as they're chewing on, or they're a sucking pest actually, as they're sucking on the this is what we want. Copy link address. Monterey Lawn Garden. Yeah, Monterey is one of my favorite products, by the way. Y'all, we're gonna call it here. Let's see, like what do you say? Two or three more, Lucas. Let's take a look at a couple, three more of them, and we'll go from there. But yeah, you're gonna have to get an on-site arborist, and yeah, that's a tough one. Where are you at? Let me know where you're at, and maybe I've got some friends that I can refer to you. But again, we're going to create a preferred vendor list, and if y'all are a landscaper or a tree guy, reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you and find out, if you're the real deal. First of all, the ooh, yeah, that's a great question. Alex is asking, I am buried my tree root flares. Now water pools by the tree trunk. Is that okay, or should I find a way to drain it out? Yeah, you should find a way to drain it out. Yeah, this is going to be a long-term solution. It's going to chemically flocculate the soil, and that will basically what that means is open up the pores. Is it restructures the clay or the sand? Basically, it leaves more air and water space in there for it to dry out easier and for water to move more readily and quickly. But it'll also, if you've got like a really clay soil, then that clay will lock onto the water really tightly. This will kind of soften the soil and allow the water to move more freely. It won't be locked up in the clay like that. But the other thing it'll do too is feed the beneficial microbes. Some of those will absorb the water faster. And also, I appreciate you pointing that out too, Christine. This. So you're going to want to do radial trenching. That's like, I'll sound like a broken record here. Radial trenching is a really, really, really good resource for you because it just adds organic matter, revamps the soil a little bit, allows better drainage, and creates a nice little path for the roots to grow. So hope that helps, Alex. All right, we're moving on. Tom's asking, what is going on with my pin oak? These root flares were never mechanically damaged. Several years ago, I exposed them by removing mulch and dirt, but didn't damage them. They didn't look like this at the time. Could this be evidence of a work problem inside the entire tree or something that happens from a few dry years? Also, have some evidence of iron chlorosis. I would love the pictures of iron chlorosis. Yeah, something mechanically was damaged there. Now, I do see new healthy tissue on covering it up, Tom, so I'm not too worried about it. Those pin oaks you do want to watch out for, though. So take a sounding mallet and see. Let me see if I can find that hollow. What's the name of that? How to find hidden hollow. There we go. I'm parched, you guys. I've been talking for an hour and a half over here. What's up, Sprouting Arborist? Glad to have you there, big guy. I'm sorry, we're just about to close shop today, but man, it's so good to see you on here, buddy. Sprouting Arborist, for those of you that don't know him, he's our future generation of arborists. He's a great guy, and man, I think he said still in high school, but he's just soaking it up and learning this stuff, and that's really exciting because what I try to teach is not just the facts about the trees. Yes, it's important to understand the whys and the hows and all that. But what I really want you to do is not just know the textbook knowledge, but understand how that works inside of the tree. So trees are a lot like humans. I think God did a wonderful job of using copy and paste, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If he created something and it's really good, which he said, hey, and it was all good. When he creates things, is why reinvent the wheel when you've got a great basis? And so I think there's a lot of copy and pasting, a lot in creation. And so trees function very similarly often to how humans function. So, anyways, that's my 2 cents. And I'm really proud of you, Sprouting Arborist. Like, cross country, and he's running as fast as he can to get over to this live stream, man. But yeah, hey, if nothing else, it's really good to understand things about our agriculture, because that affects everything we do in life, by the way. So anyways, humble opinion here. Science is the word science means knowledge. So it's a good thing to know science. So, all right, Brooks asking, can anyone offer advice on my winged elm? It's yellow, has spots and holes. It was professionally planted. I don't believe that. In April of 2024, it's watered 3 times a week plus sprinkler days. Oh, that is too much, Alec. Brooke Axler. Brooke, where are you from, Brooke? Nowhere. And that's a lot of new growth at the top. I'm so worried. You've got a chlorosis type of situation. You've got too much or too little water. I'm not sure which. When you say professionally planted, that leads me to believe it was planted wrong. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so rude sometimes. And yes, you've got some things chewing on it. That looks like some kind of chewing pest. It could be like a Japanese beetle. It could be like a caterpillar of some sort. I wouldn't worry about that too much. What I would worry about is getting water to move away from that root ball, Brooke. You've got a really bad situation, I think, with water pooling in the planting hole. Yeah, and stop watering it so much. You can cut that back to like 1 day a week. Actually, just don't even worry about that. You said it was April 2024, so it's been 1.5 years in the ground. You do not have to supplemental water it at all. Yeah, April 2024. You don't have to supplemental water it at all. So leave it alone. Stop watering it. Yeah. Yeah, professionally planted, AK not by me, when we should all probably learn and plant a tree once or more in life. Yeah, it's really fun. My son, we homeschool him, but he goes to like a co-op type school. And so 2 days a week, he goes for 4 hours a day, and they give him a lesson plan. They teach him in class. It's kind of like a classroom scenario. He's got friends that he's known for 4 years, and it's really a neat school. And then we take over the rest. So we're the primary parents, but they set the curriculum and the schedule and help guide us along. So it's great for us because I'm busy. I got too much stuff to organize in my head already. My wife's busy, and we've got some health issues that we deal with. So having that as a great resource is awesome. Well, they're going through biology, y'all. This year is going to be fun. And I've been asked to teach some of the schooling when we get to the tree sections. So I'm really excited about that because we're going to teach all these punk kids a little thing or two about biology and how trees work and how God created things. So it's pretty exciting for me. So anyways, yeah, I agree, Christine. I think everybody should learn how to plant a tree and learn how trees function because we can learn a lot about life, and it's good to get out there and touch trees. I like what Guy says. He's like, touch trees. There's that touch grass. Like, yeah, get outside. There's a book I read years ago. It's called Nature Deficit Disorder. And man, just the title alone says it all. We don't even have to go beyond that. But it talked a lot about how people are just messed up in the heads nowadays. And quite frankly, when you go outside and you spend time around trees and around nature, it's actually therapeutic. There's a lot of research out there that proves that. So keep it up, Sprouting Arborist, man. Glad to have you on board here. Sorry, Brooke, I got distracted with my soapbox. That's not personal. It's just business. Here's what I would do is you've got to slow down on the irrigation. You've got to do a little bit of root flare excavation. I don't think it's too bad that I could see, but it was definitely planted too deep. I'm sorry, professional or otherwise. Professional, by the way, it just means you got paid for it. That doesn't mean anything really, but 10 Katop is at home and help to keep the root flares exposed so I can see how on earth nurseries bury them. Yeah, man. Why do they do that? Y'all just stop it. On that topic, I found a nursery by them that has mostly good root flares. Yes, I love it. Man, go online, give them a good review saying, hey, I'm a sprouting arborist and I was soon to be certified arborist. And these guys do it right. Let them know, man. Let them know. But anyways, what was I doing? Oh, radial trenching. Sorry, Brooke. We're having a conversation over here. A little side chatter. It's not personal. Okay, there's that. So you got to get the water flowing away from there. Humic acid is going to be your best friend here as well. I would throw some of that down and watch your tree thrive. not just not just right around the tree, but you want to go out beyond where the canopy is. So like where the drip line is. So here's what's happening is your roots are growing at a rate of typically around 18 inches right now per year. So you've got a tree, those roots, let's say here's the drip line. Again, I drew a lovely tree there, y'all. Such an artist. Draw an imaginary line down there. That is the bare minimum of where your roots are. That is where you should start thinking and beyond. Most of these roots are going to keep going. What they're trying to do, think of like a dinner glass on a wine plate, is they're trying to get a big, giant net growing in the ground. So here's your tree. Here's your tree's roots. That needs a little water in there so it doesn't fall over. But essentially what they're doing is they're trying to form a giant net everywhere they can to capture the air, capture the nutrients, capture the water. That's what feeds the tree. Most people think of like a giant taproot. They got this weird idea of like, you got a tree up here, you got a tree below. No, it's not like that. Trees go out, and they've measured it. They've done averages. They've done studies. They found that on average, the genetic potential of a tree is to put its roots 5 times from the radius of the trunk to the drip line. So if that's 10 feet, multiply it by 5. And you got 50 feet that way. That's average. It's going to go up and it's going to go out and go down based on how the tree needs it. So, all right. I think we have done a great job today, y'all. Thanks so much for those of you that have been hanging out with us this whole time. For those of you that just popped in to say hi, we've got some great questions on there, y'all. And again, just love being a part of this group. And thank y'all so much for being here as well. Christine, Sprouting Arborist, Lucas, who else was on here? Man, we had Alex was out there giving some great questions and all that. It's just really been a fun time getting to grow this channel and grow this group with y'all. And I'm just so proud to be a part of this group. So thank you again for being a part of this. Again, we'll be back online Thursday evening. By the way, I'm finding that maybe a better time is actually during the day. I'm wondering, Lucas and I got to talk, but my wife and I were talking. And we really feel like maybe in the evenings is going to, or in the afternoons seems to be a better time for y'all. So I'll do a little poll up there later, or Lucas, if you don't mind throwing it out there, maybe just with some options of times, and we'll talk. We'll figure out what works best. But school and stuff, yeah. Yeah, we'll throw a poll out there, you guys, and y'all just tell us what you're thinking. Maybe we could do it like 4 to 6. That way it's a little bit into the afternoon, evening. We're having some trouble keeping the kiddos in line and getting them to bed on time and all that here at the house too. Making sure that everything's ready to go. And then quite frankly, I'm just tired at night. So y'all, thanks so much again for being here. Like I said, we'll be back. We'll throw up a calendar event for you guys, and y'all keep those great questions coming. We're going to start, by the way, Thursday. We're going to start from the bottom and start working our way up and getting caught up there. So again, thank you all for all your great questions and for being a part of this community. And we will see you guys next time. Oh, and I got a self-plug, don't I? Self-promotion here. And of course, as always, if you need help a little further with your trees, hit us up on the web at Arborist on Demand. That's a great point too. Hey, and just so y'all know too, arboristondemand.com. Why is it not? Hello, what's my website doing, y'all? We do telemedicine for trees, essentially is what it is. And we do this all over the US, all over. We're even international in some cases. I've got a case in Canada going on in Toronto area, a couple of them actually right now. And we just looked at another one in Savannah, Georgia that we might be looking at. So anyways, love you guys. Thanks again for being here. Oh, and one other self-plug too. We've got Direct Fairways. Maybe I need to talk to you. So my wife and I just started a little side hustle just for fun, just something we're going to do. Is essentially we're decorating porches with pumpkins. We're calling it Pumpkin Affair, and it's something we can just basically come in and do the work for you guys. So if you're here in the Houston area or surrounding, we could certainly help you out. So shameless self-plug, y'all. Thanks again so much. And I was on a bit early too. Yeah, Sprouting Hours. We'll be back at it Thursday night too, man. We'll catch you next time, and love having you with us, pal. So thanks again, all of you, for being here and being a part of this group. We'll see y'all on Thursday.